Big Battles Part 7. Alliance Preußen vs. Alliance Big. Breaking the Will. December 1st was a very important day in this war of alliances. We could by no means rest on our successes of the previous day. Having conquered the left edge was important, but now we had to advance exactly where the opponent had his main force. This December 1st also brought some surprises. Suddenly, player names appeared on the opponent's side that we never had seen before on this map. This also made it important not to lose any bases, because each base would increase the group limit of added opponents. True to the motto, attack is the best defense, we continued our forward movement towards the south without hesitation. When bases are very close to each other, it is doubly difficult. It can happen easily to get caught in the defensive fire of even the second base and take double damage. To further provoke this, Tech has placed Breda groups in front of the base. However, helicopters and malts clean up there very briskly. While our Breda drivers take care to stay away from the neighboring base, our Löwenherz manages to lose his FP6 in the fire of the neighboring base's defense towers for no reason. Here you can see Payday deliberately scrapping his ammo tanks in front of the base. If you have so many bases on a map that you can build these ammo tanks from your current resource production, then it is cheaper to build new ammo tanks than to reload them. Building costs 1 gold for 10 tanks, including a total of 30 ammunition. Loading costs 1 gold for 10 ammunition. With the capture of this base, 2 big bases were isolated behind it. This would make their capture much easier for us, as the opponent would have a hard time jamming there. At this point, only a few jamming attacks were coming. Thus, we had quickly scored the first success of the day. Next, we went against the base of Burning. This is one of the most active players on the opponent's side, and each base he lost reduced his group limit. Since this base now had an isolated position in the middle of our bases, only now and then a few airplanes or helicopters could disturb. So this base also fell quickly. Since the last base was so easy to capture, we assumed that another base, equally isolated in the middle of our bases, would also have nothing to challenge us. But obviously, there was a helicopter air show going on. Do I Know came with 10 groups of R4 helicopters. No sooner had this disruptive attack been beaten off than Jason Kim came the long way down the river with 3 groups of Willys. I put my group of Willys in the way. Normally, fighting outnumbered should be avoided. But if the opponent Willys had stopped to attack my Willys, they would have fallen victim to the many helicopters. So they had to keep on going, and each group of Willys was somewhat reduced on their arc around my Willys. This way, even small players could contribute something to the battle. The nice thing was that we could always see the coming disruptive troops well in advance. This allowed for optimal preparation in each case. Helicopters were received with FP6, Willys with helicopters. The few Willys from IT Galen, which then passed my Willys, reached the base too late anyway. It was already taken. When we then wanted to attack a not so isolated base, we saw where Big had all the troops. Obviously, our opponent was hell-bent on not losing a base down there. Big was not just waiting for us to come. Groups of Willis kept coming to attack our Breeders while they parked in front of our bases, waiting to attack the next base. The number of groups deployed, as well as the type of groups, such as Pinesco's T-28s here, clearly showed that Big was gearing up for defensive battles. This was no longer an alliance on the advance. They had clearly settled into the role of a defender. Over a long period of time, small skirmishes occurred every once in a while. On both sides, attempts were made to tempt the opponent into making mistakes through targeted provocation. Once again, Big had everything up for grabs. The clips shown in this video hardly reflect that, but both sides easily lost 200 groups during this long day. Therefore, instead of trying to get our heads through the wall, we first attacked another of the isolated bases. Jason Kim is also a very active opponent. It helps twice to make a base from him. Meanwhile, jamming attacks continued to occur at the slightly more southerly location where units from both sides were facing each other. But jamming down there has no effect on the base battle 2 bases further north. So we take the base as soon as possible. Last but not least, some pictures of the capture of a base of the Big Player Special. There was no more resistance here. I did not record all fights of this long day, so I only show some in this video. Today was not just about capturing more bases and thus becoming stronger ourselves. It was mainly about demoralizing the opponent. I'm not talking about expecting Big to give up this map at this point. They didn't. Rather, it's individual decisions that we were banking on. When things are going badly, players like to get distracted by other things and log in less often. Or when they log into the game, they like to be distracted by other maps. It's human nature to turn to potential successes rather than constantly watching your alliance lose base after base. However, this effect then weakens our opponents. That's why it's so extremely important not to rest on a partial success, but to keep showing strength without interruption. I think that's exactly what we managed to do quite well on December 1st. Again, a before-after comparison is very telling. 11 bases taken and 1 base lost in the night is the result of that day. That's something to build on, and how we build on it will be shown in the next episodes of this series.